is better than a big purple lollipop in your garden in late spring? Nothing, actually, but here's what's close. Alliums are the Dr. Seuss attention getter that make your non-gardening friends like snap their necks right round when they see them. But there are more alliums than you think there are. There are crazier ones than you might be aware of. And then there are these wonderful little ones that bloom for weeks in the summer. All things allium, today on the Garden Mixer.
She's Leslie Harris. I'm Marianne Wilburn, and you are listening to All Things Allium, the Allium Channel, 24/7. And I think we actually could do the Allium Channel, Les, because, well, maybe we couldn't do it, but it could be done. There are so many. It is such a complex genus, and I grow a fair amount. You've grown a fair amount. Still grow? Is that in the present tense?
Not as much. I've winnowed down my little collection, but I have grown a lot. And then, we actually sit down and research this stuff to serve up to you, and still have to correct ourselves sometimes. But no, we're working at this, and we're like, oh, but I've never heard of that one, and I've never heard of that one, and I've never heard of that one.
Marianne.
Oh, I'm so excited about that. Alliums. I mean, we talked about it. So should this even be the topic for a big main episode? And that we started to look into it. And the answer was, oh, yes, it should.
Oh, yeah. I pushed Leslie hard on this because I've been in enough gardens with enough non-gardeners to watch what lights their eyes up in a garden. And
it's purple lollipops.
It's big purple lollipops with the, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
And then the second one is the banana. But they can create such continuity in a garden. That's one of the reasons I love allium. Just for the moment, let's just talking about the big balls, whatever those balls are, whatever balls you have chosen, and we'll discuss a few of those. They can connect a landscape that's a little disparate, that's a little bit floopy floppy and flurfy.
There's that word.
If you are using them not as regimented soldiers, please, none of that, but that wonderful, what does Fergus Garrett, got to do it, say the high-low density. So a couple here, one there, three there. Then your eye is moved through the landscape to these little beacons. And instead of just looking at this sort of vague mess of, what is that native? I always want to say fellatio. It's not.
Fallopia.
It's not. No, it's not fellatio.
It's nothing sexy at all.
Phacelia. That's what it is. And it's a little native. I don't know the common name to it. And I was given it by Greg Tepper.
First of all, we're
Why
supposed
are we
to be
even
talking
about this?
Cocktails first.
Okay, sorry. I was just saying the allium's going to help that out a little bit because there's a lot of it.
Okay, fine.
Cocktails, please. Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's drink, for God's sake. Cheers.
For God's sakes, it's been a hard day. And we went for the simple gin and tonic. But did you put the proper garnish on? Because guess what allium means in Latin? That would be garlic.
Yes. No, I put my double lime in. I love double lime in a gin and tonic, even if I'm drinking Hendrick's. Thank you, Andrea Gasper. And I don't need the cucumber. And I thought Leslie can carry this load for us.
Yep.
I'm not going to put a clove in there, and she's totally going to do it, and I'm not. So
I got it. But I'm taking it right out. I did not do the regular big jug of Hendrick's that we always have in the bar. Some people gifted us the Green Hat gin. Have you heard of that one?
I have not.
Has a good story. Made near Washington, D.C. Apparently during Prohibition, congressmen and senators were served by a mysterious bootlegger who wore a green hat. There you go.
If you're a bootlegger, worst thing you can do is be memorable, I would say.
I would have gone with the black.
I would have definitely brown, beige, brown, derby, maybe no hat.
No hat. No, back in those days, they wore them. All right, so we need to, I want to get back to whatever the heck tangent you escaped to before I rein you back in. But first, we have a couple of things to clear up. One is, You were sadly right, and I am sadly worried about my climbing or no, drooling,
Drooling.
rosemaries that I plopped on the top of my retaining wall because they are only zones 8 to 11.
Oh, they are 8. That was a guess on my part just
Ah.
because of how successful they've been in my mother's zone 8 climate, and I
So, what do you
haven't
think?
seen
Should
any
I
7s.
pull a couple so I have 4. They're big plants. I bought big plants,
Oh.
so they'd have an impact this summer, and should I pull a couple in next fall into the garage and just say, "Hey, how are you gonna do over the course of the winter?" What do you think?
So if it was me and I was doing insurance, I would take one out now and I'd put it in a
Oh.
pot. So it had a really nice root situation by the time it came
Yes.
in the fall, because otherwise you're screwing with the roots and then you're putting it in a really not so great
Yep.
holding situation. And it's marginal. So that's probably what I would do. I'm not saying it's what you should do
I like the
because
way
the
you
whole
think.
point is for you having it. It's not for you. Okay, here's another choice. Here's another
Okay.
choice. If you're not is if you just wanna experiment with it, you just go get a little one and you
Oh,
put that in a pot, and
okay.
then you bring it in, and when the others die, at least you have one, and, you know, I don't
To
know. Do it
remind
any way
me
you want.
of my folly.
To remind you of, "Look it up, baby.
I also
Look
wanted
up the
to
zone."
I also wanted to not clear up something, but actually congratulate you. This is like you're
Oh,
winning totally on this.
wow. Wait, let me get ready. Okay, I'm ready.
It's just that I thought that it was so cool that your mind went to when you were trying to w you were making yourself feel guilty, and then you should make yourself feel good. When we were talking about clear up on the rhizome or tuber for the
Mm.
peony, and then all of a sudden your head just spit out geophyte. And I'm like, "Wait, is that a rock?" And you looked it up, and it was kind of funny. But it was and I've never even heard this word. I am a neophyte on the geophyte, and I just congratulate you.
Wow, I
I
knew a vocabulary word. Woohoo! Let's do a whole nother podcast.
no
Well,
kidding.
it was just going back to that idea that as a writer, and I really am a writer, you have so much more time with your words. You have time to play with them and move them around and look at them and then think, "Wait a minute, that's not right." Or this is, and things come to you or they don't. And it's different in podcasting, it totally is. So, I mean,
But
and we've
hey,
got all these armchair quarterbacks out there going, "Yeah, sure." Like, put you in front of a microphone, all right? So I'm gonna get rid of that, guilt, and thank you very much that I knew what a geophyte is. That's just because of the people that I hang with, has nothing to do with me.
I'm like, "Wait,
Nothing
she
to do
said
with me.
she was an archaeologist. Did she bring one background into the other?" But you did not. You did very well.
I
Anything for
did
you to clear
not.
up, or are you too
Yeah,
brilliant?
I just wanted to add some names of some purple pennisetums that I was talking about during the tropical fusion episode that we did. Was that a one more sip? I think it
That was.
was.
Tell the good people what a
Okay,
one more sip is, just quickly.
one more sip is our little mini episode that we do in between this big bad episode where we have a couple sips in our drink and we go on one topic. And that one topic last time was tropical fusion, the successful incorporation of tropical or subtropical foliage and flowers into your very temperate garden because they can be big bad players and not everybody wants a tropical garden. So I was talking about the concept of punch and soften, punch and soften. And I was doing a lot of punching. I was extremely violent in that during that episode. There was a lot of punching going on. One of the softening elements that I love are grasses. That's a very obvious one. There's plenty of others, but grasses are one. And there's some terrific subtropical pennisetums. These are like, you have pennisetum, hamelin, and all that stuff. There's black stockings. There's first night. There is princess. And first night is one of my favorites if you can find it because it brings a lot of color and it's really tall and it grows so vigorously. It's just the terrible thing is that it's not very hardy. So I think princess is hardy to 7B8. Tennessee, first night I think is hardy, just like those little. just like the little
The
pennisemas, the
little
little
red
purple.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're sort of hardy to 9, 10, somewhere in there. So that's the bad thing. And I refuse to believe it every year. Every year I grow a couple first nights and I think this will be the year you're going to get through. You've got great roots. And there's no way something so majestic and so big and beautiful and so grass like is going to die. And it totally does every year.
So, okay, so one more question because that is not our topic, and yet I'm just have a this is what happens in these gardening podcasts. A gardener has a question for another gardener. With
True.
First Night and these other penniseums, do you do the let's bring it into the garage or greenhouse and see if we can overwinter it thing, or do you just go shopping?
I can't be bothered. If I was doing it right, I would put it into a pot with plenty of root run and I would plunge that pot into my garden. And then I would pop that pot up and then it would go into stasis. So I wasn't messing with the roots too much in the fall.
Okay.
But that's a lot of work
Yeah.
for a $7.99 plant. So I have to look at my wage per hour is very low as I'm a writer and a podcaster. Pretty much. So that would be $2.50 an hour. But it's still
I think that's very ambitious and aspirational, that figure. I've done the math. It's sad.
it's still not worth it for me to bring that pennisetum in. I have tried it in the way that you were discussing doing your rosemary, which is you just pop it out of the dirt in the fall, throw it in a pot, and stick it in, and said, "Oh no, you
No,
don't.
you did not treat me
I'm gonna
right.
die, and it's gonna be bad." So yeah,
Uh,
that's some
so
of the things you can do. Stasis is good. Stasis is 50 degrees, 45, 50 degrees with a little bit of light, enough to read by in a cold area, keeping it hydrated, not too much water, just a little bit.
okay.
But you can read all about it in my book, Tropical Plants and How to Love Them, award winning, which
On
is
Amazon.
available on Amazon. Yes. Or
All right, but
wherever you get good books.
let's get down to the garlic. We don't
No,
want
wait,
any
there's one more.
vampires.
There was one more
Oh,
breaking news on the Claret Corner, and that was that I looked into it, and it's official that Fred Astaire had a good voice. Yeah. I'm sorry, I mean, it's just from up
could you
high.
please give me a source on that?
No, that was the source, um, the Fred Astaire fan club. Um,
I have you heard him sing?
yes, do you not know the Audrey Hepburn, Fred Astaire movie, Funny Face?
Of course,
What
but
is wrong with you?
no, but no, I'm sorry. He was known for the hoofs, not the pipes. All right, moving on. We need to talk about what we're going to talk about because
So
that's what good
much.
speakers do. Alliums are mostly bulbs. Alliums are mostly bulbs in terms of gardeners who know what alliums are. So we're going to kind of go 2/3 bulbs and 1/3 what appears to be an herbaceous perennial, but is actually kind of a rhizomatous bulb affair. And we'll talk about that later. But those wonderful things that grow in the summer. Um, this is dropping at the time where hopefully you have some fabulous alliums going on. And nobody can resist the big purple lollipop, but there's just more to it. Starting with that, though, what is your favorite purple lollipop? Caught her. Caught her
You
off guard.
got me.
We say we research these things, but
Well, you know what? My favorite one, I really like Gladiator.
mhm,
I like Gladiator a lot. It's pretty big, and it's pretty strong.
yeah.
Purple Sensation is really nice, but it just doesn't stay for very long in my garden. And that actually brings us to a real quick aside about rodents, about voles, and I as a, sort of beginning gardener, I was always under the assumption from things that allium repelled pests, that they weren't eaten by voles, and because they had that onion smell, and nobody likes that onion smell, but I like the onion smell. I eat onions, I eat garlic, why wouldn't they? And sure enough, have lost an enormous amount of different allium bulbs to voles. That might be gophers in the West, and deer have nibbled at them too. So that, in my book at least, is a total myth. Is it a myth in your book too?
No, I would say that I might have lost a few to voles because I did have a vole problem at a big garden in Minor Road. Where I've lost them more is just knowing that the drainage is just not sharp enough for summer. They just cannot sit in the wet. And we have this fabulous Virginia clay soil, which is very dense. And so where I had them at first, And these are expensive bulbs. I remember getting one for like, oh my God, it's like $4 for a bulb. Now they could be 6 or 8. This was years ago where I wanted the purple lollipops. I'm a pretty new gardener. I'm like, I'm not quite sure what I'm doing,
Are
but
you
I
a
know.
pretty new gardener or a pretty new gardener? I'm sure you were a pretty new girl. Yeah,
I
you
would
were.
say
You were a pretty new gardener.
I was a new gardener who had a big nose and a nice smile. Is that good enough?
You were a pretty new gardener.
Oh, thanks. But, I knew that I wanted in on that look. It's just so
Mm,
cool, like, purple lollipops? Come on. So I
yeah.
got me some from White Flower Farm, probably paid too much, and, and I did a row of soldiers. I think I did 3 in this front border, but they made me so happy. But then the next year, I had 6, and the next year, I had 9. They were loving it at where I had
So
them there.
which one? Which
It
one
was
was it?
I think that Ambassador and Gladiator are pretty new, so I bet you it was Globemaster.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't think it was Purple Sensation. You wouldn't have paid that much for Purple Sensation
No,
for
Purple Se
one.
well, then in that case, it could have been Purple Sensation because 'cause I'm like, "Well, I'll get the cheap one."
Okay.
That is the less expensive one, but they're all purple lollipops, and they're all fabulous, but then so when I came down to Minor Road and I snuck a bunch of them knowing that they come back and they multiply, and they did not, and it might have been voles, but it might just have been, clumpy red clay
Yeah, where they go matters, and dry and rocky, they like very much.
and full sun.
Obviously, they're not all purple. There are lots of different ones that are just like a little tinge of pink in the white or full white. My favorite white, like overall, is Mount Everest
Yep.
because that comes back for me. It makes big clumps that I can then divide and put elsewhere. But my favorite white, like a big luxury purchase, is also a stipitatum. It is White Giant. That is like $5 a bulb, and I was
Oh,
gifted some of those. I was gifted 5 actually, and I had no idea how expensive they were or what a rich gift it was. And I went back to buy more because they were so gorgeous and so upright. These are like 4 feet tall. Well, that much. 3 feet. That
uh-huh.
sound about right?
Yeah,
They dried like a miracle. I still have these guys dried from when I first grew them 5 years ago. That's how
that's
strong they were. I've used them in so many different arrangements, it's ridiculous. So I went back to buy some, naive, get on the website and like, what now? What? No, no, I will not be doing that.
yeah,
And
they're
they've slowly dwindled, unlike my other. However, the soil may be a little bit on the nicer side.
okay.
So that might be why. I think you gotta grow a lot of these things, except for not that one, it's very expensive. You've gotta grow a lot of these things in different areas so you can see where they do well, because I don't think you can be definitive about this is the one until you really know how they grow and where they grow well.
But to start with, if you happen to be a beginner gardener, it is full sun, and if you know that your soil drains a little better, that's where to start. They do not appreciate a bog. There are ways to get them, just like any other plant, in a succession of alliums. And one of my favorite ones that's quite early is the Carataviense. Do you got that one?
Oh, I love that one. I love it. I'm crushing hard on that, and I actually like the foliage better than the flower.
Yeah, that's why I used to grow it. I'm like, well, the flower's great. I mean, there's my purple lollipop, but the foliage is so lush and kind of striped and almost looks like it looks like a tropical. Maybe that's why we love it.
Pronounce it for me again.
I'm going phonetically, and I see these syllables: Carataviense.
That sounds very good. Okay.
Okay.
So what she said. Yeah, this is I love this for the foliage, which is pretty much said no person who grows allium ever because the foliage just sucks so hard with most allium that are not of the bulbous perennial variety, but are the just a bulb variety. Their foliage can be extremely suffocating. It can just completely, go over the top of plants. And the flower is starting to come into its own. The foliage looks like no good.
Oh, it's gone over. So
It's gone
the
over.
foliage comes and you're all excited, and then you get the purple lollipop or white lollipop, and you're very pleased. But then you're thinking either, my perennials are dying or are like being smothered here, or, it's time to put annuals down here. I had a parterre sort of situation, a knot garden, and I like to put annuals down there.
Not a garden?
Not a garden. It was a garden. Cute little boxwoods, all of which I had propagated. It's like, but where do I put my little annual? There's no room in the inn. The the foliage is bad. It's so thick and ugh.
But back to our little love, this little Allium caveri
Ca-
I never can
Caratavi-
remember.
Carataviense, I
Carataviense.
think. We hope.
This guy's only about
8.
8 inches,
Yeah.
maybe, tall. When the foliage comes out, it just makes these big, gorgeous, bubbly leaves.
And they
then you
almost like, it's like a woman who's put on a,
recurved.
yeah, they sort of go over each other like a woman who's put on a cloak in a fabulous sort of jaunty way.
Yeah.
Like they oh,
Yeah.
you'll see in the photographs. People, go to
Yeah,
YouTube.
so I went hard on those thinking I had a dry area, and I did, and other alliums have done okay there, and the voles took out a lot of them. And I say the voles. What this also could be is the moles, which are very much there and make so many trails throughout that area that it could just dry out the bulbs underneath, because the moles do not eat bulbs. They're looking for the grubs. They're looking for the this, that, the other, but they dry out roots real well by going through beds.
So alliums like it dry, but not that dry.
Not that dry. No, not that dry. Truly, I've pulled up clumps of Mount Everest and had chew marks on them. So
Oh, golly.
guilty. J'accuse.
What about the moly, the cute early yellow one? I've never grown it.
Mole, mole, mole. Yes, I do grow that for the first time this year, actually. I got it from a friend of mine. This was a damn, I wish I planted that.
Was it?
It was. Well, no, not one of ours. It
I'm-
was just mentally in my head. I was like, damn, I wish I planted
I
that.
was like, God, I missed that episode. I don't remember
Kevin,
that
can
at
I
all.
have some of that? And he said, oh, yeah, and you will have it forever. This is a little yellow allium, which is something garlic, isn't it? Yellow garlic or...
Yeah.
And it is yellow star-like flowers, very small, maybe about 8 inches or so. And it has a grayish, whiter leaf, but it's a small little guy and very, very cute. And likes the dry very much.
Yeah.
So he happily handed me some, and maybe I will have it into perpetuity. We will see.
All
The other
right.
little guy I grow is chameleon, which is so sweet, much more allium-like head, little flattened, pink and white,
Ooh.
and just so pretty. And I know a lot of people use this as an annual in like little botanical gardens and stuff. They just want that little stroke of pink white, and they're probably going to take it out from where it is, because it'll do okay if you're putting it into pretty decent soil with other plants, and then it does its thing, and then you're not looking at the long term on that. But I've got mine in a little corner where it's dry, and it does really well.
So next, as I was trying to, serve up for our people a succession idea of just alliums, I came across 3 that I don't know anything about, and I'm wondering if you do. They are Kowani, Cowani, Rosium, and Oreophyllum. Any idea?
I have no idea on all those 3, but I mean, you could have just put it. I mean, aren't there like 600 species or
Yeah.
more to
So
allium?
this was an idea of making it so that there was a succession, and guess who I asked? And he was helpful. His name begins with a CH and ends with
Oh
an AT.
man, I
No,
hate
it
him
was
so
helpful.
much.
It was helpful because there are so many that I just wanted to organize it. So here's what we learned about that. There
Do you
are,
know who I asked? Dilly's Davis.
okay,
That's
we'll
who
have
I
a book
asked.
moment in a minute. Just hang on. I I had a very busy day. I did this yesterday, but I had a very busy day then too.
She's having a
Uh,
breakdown, folks.
I
Just
am-
push her a little harder. Chat sucks. Okay.
I know.
Go ahead,
It helps
Leslie.
me. It even made a chart.
Mental break coming up. Keep watching.
Oh,
It's hard to get put together a podcast, ain't it?
I know. So I just thought that was so interesting that I didn't go farther because, I want to talk about what I want to talk about, not what chat wants to talk about. But I'm like, wow, okay, what I learned from that is that there are a lot of alliums that I don't even know about. So moving on.
Actually, let's not move on real quick.
Okay.
If it would be an interesting thing to actually do exactly what AI, whichever your poison, Claude, Chat, whatever, said to do early, mid, late on any genus, whether it was the peonies that we talked about or the or daylilies or allium or what have you, and see how right they are. Because they're really scraping from the internet. They're scraping, 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 scraping. And having written a lot of content over the years, for content, I hate that word, but a lot of, catalog entries and all sorts of things, you realize how people are copying each other, or it was people at one time, and also exaggerating a little bit about things blooming from spring till fall or spring till frost, or this is an early, this is a mid, this is a late, and things, it sort of snowballs on itself. And so I think in the peony episode, you had a list that you were like, "Oh, no, that's not right." I
Yeah.
remember there was one of those, right? That you were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's
And it was
not that
actually,
just."
I'm gonna talk about it when we go to talk about comments because I had some great comments from YouTube that totally, called me out. Like, really? Is that the succession? Is that where you think it is? Because it's like this for me. And I wrote back and said, I was just trying to see if you were paying attention. No,
But I mean,
it's a fine line. I think that the most important thing, especially for beginner gardeners, to realize it's not just now. It can be before now and after now. If a plant that you love is quick for you, that you can spread it out a little bit. I think that's the most important message for new gardeners. For gardeners
right.
like Marianne who want to know everything about everything, I can't help you.
No, no. Nobody can, Les. Nobody
And in fact,
can.
I'm probably hurting.
But this is why I think it is good that it is fun to bring in some of the little factoids here and there. But it does come down to, have you and I grown these plants? And it's
Right.
helpful because we have grown a lot of these plants. Not every single one,
Not
but a
those
good
three I
amount of
just
them.
mentioned, Kiwani, Rosium, and Oreophyllum.
Yeah, I think we should put together the AI garden, which let's see if it all comes together. Now, we talked about Mount Everest,
Yep.
Ambassador, all those. How about two of my very favorites of that sort of mid size, Schubertii and Christophii?
All right, so I think those are smaller, and I can't remember which is small. One is quite smaller than the other. I have grown both of those. I love them. One of them looks more like a disco ball than the other. One of them looks like a disco ball. The other one looks like something an alien might have
Meteor.
brought back from a
Yeah.
faraway land. And
I say medium, but I'm talking relative in size between, like Globe Master and Little Moly, right?
yeah,
I'm
hang on,
talking
I've
about
got it right
something
here.
that
So Schubertii, which is the Schubertii, which appears to have been sent by aliens, the really crazy shape,
very
is
cool.
only 10 to 12. I just hopped on Color Blends, which is not AI. And then the Christophii, which is sort of like one of the Ambassador or the Globe Master, but it's just like, but wait, you have air conditioning. It's very spread out, but
Mhm.
it's also sort of short. It is. It's 10 inches across, which is awesome. Christophia is taller. It can be 20 inches, whereas Schubertii is 10 inches across. So they're both hugely wide plants and really
Mhm.
different than the compact, awesome Dr. Seuss lollipops. There's so many things to grow out there. And I love both of those.
I like the idea of a disco ball.
Yeah.
That's a really terrific one for Christophii. I think that's a good descriptor. I have got some Schubertii that are bigger than that. They're
Really?
totally
What
bigger
fun.
than that, but not big, just meaning like 15 inches or so, not
Oh,
like, because
taller.
I taller.
Okay.
Oh, you meant wider. I'm
Mm.
talking taller.
According to Color Blends is a really good source for,
Yeah.
you could buy your bulbs from Brett and Becky's, fabulous source. You can buy it from
Mhm.
Breck's. I've always liked Color Blends, and I just hopped on that page as they describe them. So according to Color Blends, both of those flowers, Schubertii and Christophii, are about 10 to 12 inches. Big
Yeah.
flowers, big crazy things. And the Christophii is a little bit more compact, and the Schubertii is as having a very bad
all
hair day.
over.
Yeah.
That one is definitely a what is that plant?
Yeah.
That if you've never grown it, listeners, put that on your bowl border, which you'll be, putting together really soon if you're smart and you want to get the summer sales, which they usually will give you 5-10% discount if you get that bowl border in soon. But that is just one to try. Try a little packet of 5. And you're
Be amused.
and
You're
you'll
gonna be
have them
amused.
forever too because you can dry them very, very easily, and once they're dry, you can just sort of put them in your shrubs too.
And you're like,
It just
"Wait,
looks cool.
what?" People
Yeah,
get people's attention. "What is
yeah,
that?"
it's very cool.
Little silver spray paint, and you'll really get people's attention. And those come.
I'm not good on the spray paint.
No, I'm not either, but, I mean, people can have fun with that with who have better taste than I do. So those come after the Globemaster, Mount Everest, and Ambassador. Those come after the large big ones. And then
Right.
have you ever heard of this Sphaerocephalon?
Yes, and I have
Tell
grown
us.
that a
Yeah.
lot. It is a very, very cool it's called drumstick allium. It is very tall. The problem with it is that the foliage resembles the Allium vinale, the sort of what I call the lawn allium. You know, the wild onion
Chives,
that's just
like lawn
yeah, wild
chives.
chive that's in your lawn and in your beds and in your well, the foliage of this one looks very similar to that, a little
Oh,
bit
dear.
thicker. So, if you have changed a bed out as I have and you're going back and like, "Oh, should I let that go?" And then you do, and then it just turns out to be one of the lawn garlics. Um, that's the only problem with it because it is a beautiful plant. It has I think it's 3 colors, really. It's a dark purple, then a slightly lighter purple, and then a white on it, and the head is about an inch and a half maybe tall and maybe an
And
inch
not
wide.
round, right? A little taller than wide? That's what
Yeah,
I'm seeing in the
it's
photos.
not perfectly round, no.
Yeah.
It's more, I guess, like a drumstick, I guess, except for that the leg is very skinny.
No good meat there. I'm
Yeah.
glad that you've grown it because it is the latest one. It might be kind of fun to extend the season.
Yeah, it is pretty late. It is pretty late. Now, a little bit later one is summer drummer, which is actually a leek. And that one I've put throughout my garden because it is that sort of late punch. They say summer drummer. It's really sort of like a late spring drummer. It's like a now drummer. It's not late into August or anything like that. But it's very tall and it has this wonderful period while it's opening up, and it's just so much, anticipation while it's opening up, and the little sheath around that what would that be called? I can't think what that is, but the little the what do you peel off of it? Why won't my brain work?
Cannot help you.
Clear up corner next time. But as that is opening and it's just starting to peak that purple up, it's just absolutely cool. So you have a long season with it in that
But I
respect.
have a question. So my daughter's grown summer drummer, and I saw it in that stage of this what is that? What is going to happen here? It was bud stage, and it had a
Mhm.
really unique, shape to it. But when it flowers, does it end up being round or
Yeah, it's round. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's not perfectly round like a
like a gladiator
well,
or
no, actually, it sorta is pretty round.
so I had in my head, there's that really cool one that's pretty tall, pretty late. So Siculum. It is kind of the tricolored. I mean,
Mhm.
it appears to be pink, but if you look at the petals really close up, it's kind of cream, pink, green, and it looks like a, fireworks where it just comes off and dringles down in an arc. If you're shopping and you're interested in something that's not a purple lollipop, Siculum is something to look
We
at.
talk about this, purple lollipop as the flower, but it's not the flower. It's a big globe, like a Death Star, made up of all of these tiny little flowers, all these little satellite dishes. And oh my gosh, do the pollinators love those flowers? That is serious bee, fly, wasp magnet. Not as much the butterflies. I don't usually see butterflies on there, but could be not looking carefully. But lots of little flies, huge
I
amounts of
don't
little
think so.
flies, and little tiny bees. Very cool pollinator plant.
I think we've done it on the bulbs, but let's move on to the herbaceous type, which we say
Okay.
herbaceous, but that's not quite accurate. Let me just describe what I'm talking about. The bulb is a classic geophyte on which I am a neophyte, but learning. The one that we're going to talk about now, is a rhizomatous perennial. So it is a perennial, but you wouldn't, and you would say, oh, it's herbaceous if you think herbaceous means it dies back to the ground in the winter. It does. But the species Allium, which means garlic in Latin, are herbaceous geophytes
Like
with true
this?
bulbs, some of which are borne on rhizomes. And Marianne sent me a photograph of her ripping up her garden.
In the interest of journalistic integrity.
See, it's not a herbaceous perennial. We've got bulbs here. So tell us what you did.
I'm a little ashamed, actually, that I've never looked into this a little bit
Why?
deeply, because I've grown millennium and or millennial. Wait,
It's Millennium, and
yeah,
that is the most famous one. We'll talk about types in a minute. That's the most famous type of this perennial summer allium that we're
right.
launching into now.
August asteroids. I've grown, and I've just transferred it from the pot into the garden and thought, oh, it's an allium. But I've never sort of thought, well, it's not really the way that I grow allium. And I've grown them for many years now, and really not, I will divide them, but I've never really pulled them apart and looked at, okay, wait a minute, how is this growing? That's why I'm ashamed of myself. So
But you did it. You did it
today I was
today.
like, this is
Now you
ridiculous.
pat yourself on the back.
I
I
guess
did it.
I
I
did it.
did
I
it.
went down and I'm like, I just need to actually look at the structure of this. How does it grow? And because I was reading this book on allium, and it was talking about that the rhizomatous with a small thin bulb at the top. And sure enough, it's exactly what it looks like. It looks like a tiny little bulb. You can see that bulb, but then you've got the rhizome, that enlarged root that's going back, and I was like, "Oh, learned a new factohoma today. Very cool. Know how my plants work better," which is very cool. So I am annoyed by
Yeah.
my lack of curiosity in the past, and I
Come on. We've got other things to worry about. Like, where's the cream? I'm having a coffee. Newer listeners, newer gardeners, this is a fairly newer plant. If you've
millennium.
grown chives in your
Mhm.
garden, that you sort of have the idea of what it looks like. It's a strap-like foliage or kind of oniony like foliage and these cute little purple balls flower if you let them, if you grow chives in your garden. But Allium millennium came on the scene in 2000 and was named in 2018 the perennial plant of the year by the Perennial Plant Association.
That long
And so I got one right about then.
I was like,
Sorry,
"That long
did you
ago?
want to say something?
Wow."
Well, time flies, but it is fairly new for us old
Right.
gardeners. After it came on the scene, I'm like, well, I got to get me one. So I got me one, and the first summer it bloomed for approximately 2 weeks, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. That's like a normal perennial blooming time. I had heard raves of 5, 6 weeks of blooms. I was disappointed. But I didn't pull it out. I just thought, "Oh, okay." I maybe didn't have it in perfect sun, but actually, it turns out I had it in enough sun because the next summer, 6 weeks of glory. It is a long, long blooming perennial, and it's just so easy to have as a flowering plant that attracts a
Mhm.
ton of pollinators, and it's very neat with its little tiny pink or purple lollipops going up, and it's just a pleasure and easy as pie.
And the foliage isn't as annoying as the larger bulb allium foliage. It is actually,
Right.
like right now in my garden, it's just standing straight up, beautiful green, sort of acting as a ground cover in that area, sort
Yep.
of almost under a shrub. I better move some out pretty soon. So it's not a bother the way that if you had a large bulb allium that was just sitting there until the
Smothering.
smothering. Yeah. And
Yeah.
did we mention that you can pull that foliage up? If it's starting to yellow, if it's starting to red,
Oh,
turn sort of funny, weird colors, it's not photosynthesizing anymore. And you can pull it up even if the flower is still starting to flower and open up. I have not had mine, well, I have had some not do well later, but I don't think it was because of that.
So Marianne's referring back to the bulb now. We went back to bulbs for a minute.
Keep on track.
And just like any other
Yeah.
bulb, as the foliage should stay photosynthesized, feed those roots for your next,
Mhm.
bloom the next spring. And allium is no exception. It's just slightly more annoying because it's just that much more in the way. But as soon as it starts to not photosynthesize, or as soon as you're like, I'm out, I'll just buy more next fall, you can cut it
Mhm.
away.
I will definitely put in a big plug for August asteroids. That's a really great one. I really like that. That comes from, I'm pretty sure it comes from Brent Horvath at in Intrinsic Perennials back in the Midwest. And it is a beautiful pink. I often pair it with snowdrift turmeric. And it's absolutely beautiful with that because you've got this thing just reaching up and this white green and then the not too purple, but lavender colored balls, which are really
Yeah.
nice. So there's a few out there. Do you grow any others than Millennium and
Yeah, I've got lavender bubbles, but I'm not sure if it made the travel team or maybe they're next to each other. Can't remember from last
okay.
summer. From my research today, they're about a lot of them are proven winners, which means because we have permission to use their photographs, that I can put them on the YouTube edition of this episode. But the differences are very
Mhm.
subtle. It's like, okay, this is a really good sort of matte forming sun loving, easy perennial, which is throwing up allium like lollipops, but a bunch of them in the middle of the summer, lasting for weeks. Great cut flower. The difference between lavender bubbles, for instance, and millennium is negligible. And whatever Marianne said, it's like there's some shade of pink, lavender,
Mhm.
purple growing on chivy foliage, behaving very well, completely deer resistant, fairly drought resistant. I I mean,
Which
they're
is
great.
different than growing on jivey foliage, which is like, yeah, we don't want that in the garden. So,
Oh, chivy versus
yeah.
jivey, that's an extremely important botanical
It is.
distinction.
So we should talk real
Thanks.
briefly about ramps, the elusive ramps that everybody wants to find their secret stash of, and that's an allium as well. And I can never pronounce
Oh,
the
yeah.
allium that it is. It's like trichocum. How do you do those two C's in Latin? Is it like Italian where you do that ch sound?
Well, no, what 2 C's
Trichocum ramps. Tricoccum.
I would say trichocum, like sarcococa.
I have a friend who hunts ramps in the wild, and she has her own little, stash, which she will not tell me about. I find that interesting.
Is there a true friendship there? I wonder.
I thought it was true until the
Yeah.
whole ramps thing. They're used a lot in shishi restaurants,
Oh, yeah.
and, I've had ramps. They're good. I've grown them for a little while, and then they sort of petered out, and I didn't really feel like I needed to replace them again. But I have a hard time getting on the ramps train of, "Ooh, like the way I do with morel mushrooms or the one that I've never found, chanterelle. So that sort of, just loses me, the whole ramps thing. Have you grown ramps? You're looking confused.
Yeah, I am. It's a vague term that I think the British employ to get excited about something that grows quickly in spring. And if you add butter and salt and pepper, which basically you can add to rubber bands and make them taste good, is this the kind of thing we're talking about? Is it really that
Well,
good?
it's an American native. Ramps are American native.
Oh,
Now, the British have their own, sort of alt weedy, wild garlic called, ursinum, and that's everywhere. That's a wild garlic with a big round thing that I think annoys the heck out of many of them, and really smells very strongly of garlic. So
so my question is, how good are ramps? And do we have to have the butter and the salt, or can we enjoy them
I
without?
liked them. They were
Okay.
good, but I felt like they just upped the price $5 on my meal,
Okay.
because the chef sourced these ramps. I mean, okay, listeners, if you're a big Ramps fan, and that's not a team, it's different than the Rams. If you're a big Ramps fan, we wanna know why, and we wanna know how best to cook them. And then I will find my friend and make her give me some, and I will cook them that way, and I will then
Report
report
back.
back.
Okay. All right.
Okay? Yeah.
I think we've talked enough about alliums. They're great. As
Get
always,
some?
there's so much more that we didn't talk about, but we didn't want you to fall asleep. So I think we're good.
Lavender bubbles.
That's what it's
What a
called. It's a great
name.
name. They're trying to sell plants here.
Lavender bubble.
We're back. And I just wanted to mention the two people who called me out very correctly on the fact that tree peonies do bloom before herbaceous. In my defense, the sun was in my eyes, and I can use that line about, I was just trying to see if you were paying attention. Anyway, these
Wow,
smart
that's a new one.
listeners, Melissa Lucas and Joanne Murphy, absolutely said, and in the most pleasant way, like, wow, my tree peonies bloom before my herbaceous. And they were very pleasant about it. Joanne Murphy also mentioned something I'd never heard of. She says, well, it's true that when they get rained on, they kind of flop over. But I actually got some peony umbrellas. And I wrote back and said, pray illuminate us as to what you're talking about. And there is a company called Cricket Hill in Connecticut that sells umbrellas that you can stab into the ground to put over your peony. Or actually, this would be fabulous. My mother used to do this with real umbrellas for plants that she knew would get a sunburn because they'd been in the house plants coming out after, for their summer vacation.
Yeah.
So this one actually is built as a stake and an umbrella. Pretty funny, huh?
I wonder if those came to be extant because of the sort of the best in show people for, mums and roses and dahlias, and that 2 days before the show, and you're just watching this plant so carefully, and it's just got to be beautiful. And then there's this massive monsoon that comes down, and I wonder if those were invented for that, because I can't imagine people going through their garden and putting up umbrellas over all of their plants just, to have a garden.
No.
But I can see people who are like best in show people wanting to protect that perfect bloom.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was fascinating. Um,
Yeah, that's interesting. Thanks, Joanne.
Marianne put some of our newest paid mixers in the notes for this episode, but I just wanted to mention that I was visiting a friend of mine in Charleston, South Carolina, who is the president of the Horticultural Society down there. So she's awesome on a plant level. Also, she's been my friend since we were first year at Bonnycastle at UVA in 1917. And she's so cute. She's such a very enthusiastic gardener. And she goes, well, she's been working and busy and she said, well, I want to know more about what you're doing. And I told her, and she immediately became a paid subscriber to One More Sip. Marianne and I mentioned that earlier when we were talking about tropical fusion. One More Sip is our in-between episode, but I'm not sure if you're clear on where to go get it. It's on Substack. Go to Substack, The Garden Mixer. You can find us there.
So, did you just emotionally blackmail her to become a One More Sipper? Because I like to think that our One More Sippers come to us with joy and love in their heart and interest and what are they doing? And let's be part of this. And you just stood there over her with the phone, like pressing the
No,
buttons
I
for
have
her.
never, not with family, not with
You got
friends.
her credit card out,
No.
may just stand there looking at her while she was doing it, or
No, quite
I'm
the
so
opposite.
ashamed.
No,
Okay.
just get off my back. Quite the opposite. I answered her questions about it. She doesn't sleep well. She gets on her phone during the night, which I don't actually recommend. You should read a boring book with no illuminated screens.
Very
But anyway,
boring.
that's her problem.
Book on Allium, in fact.
In fact, anyway, she had coffee the next morning. She said, I subscribed. I'm like, what? You didn't have to do that. And she said, yes, I wanted to do that. So that's how that went. Hey, we talked all
Okay.
about alliums, but we missed your book moment. You want to go for that?
You did. Well, this is just a little book that I just thought was extremely illuminating, written by a real plant person whose first name I can't pronounce, Dillys. Would you say that's Dillis?
Yeah.
Dillys Davies. Dillis Davies, written back in the beginning of the 90s.
The only thing that throws me off from pronouncing it Dillis is that when you think about who was that guy, Samuel Pepys, that I always called, but
Oh,
actually that
yes.
was Peeps. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't really say, but it's a good little book on allium. And this is one of those things I am so happy to have. And I am happy to have a book library. I know that Leslie and I go back and forth about book moments with Marianne, but you know, uh, increasingly there's so much on the internet that is just not true. There's a lot, and sometimes the plant that you're trying to find out more about really doesn't have a lot written about them on the internet, but there's old books that have got those plants in it. And it's not going to be one of your newest cultivars. It's not going to be Pop Rocks Fizz by Rhea or something like that. But you're going to be able to find out a lot about different species by people who grew them well, by the experts back when the publishers were willing to pay the experts to write a book that would take 2 to 3 years to write. Now, I'm not saying this Allium book took 2 to 3 years, but it probably took a lot of time to research in terms of growing and just being an expert in your craft. And now you get on Amazon and you look up book on alliums, and AI has got a book on alliums and a book on hamamelis and a book on daylilies, and it's the same AI author. And Kathy Purdy, one of our founding mixers, drew my attention to that when we linked to a book that I wasn't familiar with, and I was just looking for a book on hamamelis, on witch hazels, and it was not a real book. It's
Oh,
so yeah, and thank you, Kathy, because she immediately went into it and said, "This same author has written, like, on 130 genera." So I'm thinking, "No," and I was like, "Oh my gosh," like cat o' nine tails. Never, ever link to a book you've never read or hasn't been recommended. So anyway, that's my book moment with Marianne, is there's still a great deal of goodness, knowledge, expertise in that library there, and still to use it.
oh, don't go away, because in a minute we're going to talk about 2 more fabulous plants that are looking good in our gardens right now. Damn, I wish I planted that.
All right, this is the part of the show where we give you a plant that's doing something great in the garden right now, and that if you were to walk by it and it was in somebody else's garden, you would think, damn, I wish I'd planted that, because I've got a gap in my garden right now, and that would look great. So for now, mid-June, right? Is that where we are?
Yeah.
All right. What's yours, Les?
Rose campion, which is the Lychnus coronaria, which is a fun plant because a lot of people just grow it for the foliage. Well, I know why you don't like it, and I'm going to solve that problem. God, you are difficult. She's just, if you are listening to this and not watching, she's misbehaving terribly. And if you're watching, you'll know how. I won't even describe it. It's so base. Lychnus coronaria is grown for its foliage, which happens to be not green when Marianne says it's silver. It's actually really, really silver. It's like,
It hits you in the face silver,
yeah,
okay?
it's like,
Unlike my very nuanced silver of
yeah,
geranium tuberosum.
this is like Dusty Miller silver. It is. There's no doubt that it's silver, and it's a cute little rosette of leaves that are ovate, about 4 or 5 inches long, and it can grow into a nice little clump. I first noticed this plant when I was a new gardener, and I'm just on the lookout for plants, and I'm just driving down the street, probably thinking about, what's for dinner, and I got to pick up these damn kids, and what the hell is that? And it was silver foliage with a bright pink, which I love, bright pink, like so pink it's almost red.
Magenta.
That's it. Flower on the top that's got 5 petals, is sort of the shape and size of a periwinkle flower or a vinca flower. It's an incongruous mix of colors that would make Marianne very upset. However,
Vulgar, so vulgar.
it gets your attention if you're a new gardener. You're like, well, that's cool. And that's where I was. But there's a white one. There's the Alba. And you can buy the seeds. You can spread the seeds. This is growing by seeds. Once you get it, you're going to have the seeds. It is such a seedy plant. But it's great. It loves rocky, dry soil. It does not need a lot of water. It is not going to be eaten up by the deer. And it does not flower for very, very long. But again, you have those rosettes of silver, true silver, like not gold, but silver, not green, but silver. Silver, like my hair, silver. So the likeness
Wait a minute, I gotta back up on this, because I'm sorry, you're going down the road thinking, what's for dinner? And I gotta pick up those damn kids. Wow.
Well,
Yeah, let's all sit with that for just a moment. Let's just sit with that for a moment.
wait, you're the one who says that Emma says that you don't have any pictures of family on your phone. You just have pictures of plants. So just let's not call the kettle black if you're the pot or whatever. Okay.
Noir. My kettle is noir. Okay, we'll move past that then. You're right. You are correct.
I love my kids. I loved them then. I love them now.
You want no more comments on this plant. I take it from somebody who says, damn, glad I didn't plant that.
But you would like the Alba because it does self-sow and it's just great. It's not as good as, say, the Orlea or your cow parsley for poking up here and there, but it's got that same effect of poking up here and there. It's kind of cool.
I do like the white. I do really like the white. And because the gray fuzziness almost of the leaves with the white is really striking to me. But man, that magenta. What do you pair that with?
I like it.
And still hold your head up in your gardening circles.
The gardening circles in which you will be judged by Marianne. Go ahead. Tell us about your plant.
All right. Well, I've got a prickly one today, feeling prickly like me, which is the Eastern prickly pear, or Opuntia humifusa, sort of laying on the ground, sort of, spreading out. I found this plant absolutely fascinating from my very first time in Maryland when we moved back here 4 years ago. Because it was a cactus, and what the hell is it doing in this temperate, rainy season? And I just sort of thought, oh, somebody's doing that, and they're not going to get away with it because it'll die over the winter. And then it was still there, and it was getting bigger, and it was getting bigger and bigger. And I've been fascinated ever since. I got a little paddle from them, this is a cactus, folks. If you've never grown it, it has paddles that can get to be quite large, 6 to 8 inches tall, or maybe even a little bit more, maybe as much as 6 inches across, but some of them are a little smaller. It looks, okay, here's the caveat. It looks like hell over the winter. It really does. And into the early spring as well. It's not, it's sort of coming back. It's like it gets completely deflated. Like it couldn't possibly be alive. It's
Do you mean the
sucked.
sort of feeling that you would get if Marianne came to judge your garden, if you grew that sort of deflated?
I'm never going to get an invite to a garden if you keep this up.
You made your bed and now you will eat it.
I like everyone's garden. They're lovely, as Anne Wareham would not say. Okay, where was I? You made me lose my train of thought on this fabulous plant. All right, so it sucked like a little dark crystal Muppet, like this. And it looks terrible. And then all of a sudden, it starts to warm up a little bit, and these things puff out, and all of a sudden, it is a cactus again. And then it blooms. And I don't know if I would be as in love with it if it didn't bloom as amazingly as it blooms. But at the tip of each of these petals, you have this clear yellow bloom that's just outstanding when it's all together, when it does it all together. And then it forms a little fruit, which is edible. I've never eaten them actually, but they are edible, which then turn red. And so those are the little fruits you're picking off in the winter when you're trying to do clean it up a little bit. So here are my tips on this.
Double gloves.
Double gloves.
Oh my God.
Because we live in an eastern temperate forest ecoregion, there are a lot of leaves here, which are not in the desert. So other cacti don't have to worry about. But I have got 1,000 sycamore leaves all over this thing. And then, of course, the opportunistic weeds get in there, particularly clover, the ones that you can't get to easily without sticking your whole arm down in there. And you can see how bad this is, because these paddles do not have spines, but what they have is something worse, something so much worse. And that is glochids, Glocchids, glochids. And they are actually modified leaves, believe it or not. They are, I know, how can they possibly be leaves? They are tiny. They are transparent. They are barbed. The bastards are barbed, which is why, unlike a spine, which you put your hand on and then go, oh, damn it, I just got impaled. But then that's the end of it. They stay with you. They hold on to your skin because they're like little fish hooks.
They make you say bad words for a much longer time.
Like 3 hours later when you rub your face and you go, oh, they're there too. Right?
They're awful.
So I realize that this is not like the biggest, the best way to sell this plant. But the way that I cope with it is that in the late winter, early spring, when it's still really cold, those little glocked bastards are just less turgid. I don't know. I don't know if there's like blood supply running through them. I have no idea. But they don't tend to be as quick to get into you. And I wear double gloves, and that's when I do my weeding and my playing
Okay.
and pulling the leaves off. If you can get as many leaves off of them as possible, this is not a leave the leaves plant, folks. In the fall, you're going to be quids in the spring. So this year, I was doing all that work in the spring and I hated it. And I'm just doing it because I love the blooms so much.
It sounds like you might go first with a leaf blower and then just do what you have to do with the gloves, right?
Yeah, I think a leaf blower, I've used a couple times, but some of the big sycamore leaves, they get stuck. They get
Yeah.
stuck on those little they get barbed too. They're not happy
Oh,
about it. It's the clover that I resent the most because the clover just gets in there and it's hard to weed out. But I have some sedum growing right now over, the sort of through it, and that seems to be okay. It's giving it a little bit of fun, but it's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm letting it. It's not something you'd put in the border. You put
no.
it somewhere where it's a
Somewhere far,
thing.
far away where you send the children if they're bad. Hey, so we have something in common with this. Damn, I wish I planted that. Marianne and I don't usually get together and say,
No.
what plant are you going to do? But I don't like hers. I would never grow a punia. I would never grow a punia. It's just a torture plant. I'm sorry. No. And she will never grow mine. So there you have it.
That's true. But yeah, we both think that they're cool. So there you go. Takes all kinds to garden folks. And if you like both of these plants, you're obviously a better gardener than we are.
All right. That's enough for this episode. We're going to see you soon. Enjoy your June. I didn't know that was going to rhyme.